this link to the group chat. Did you get it? All right. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. We are on chapter 79, An-Naziyat, which refers to the extraction of our souls when they leave our bodies. So it refers to those angels who are assigned specifically for taking our souls out of our bodies. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا, by those angels who pull out the souls, meaning of the wicked people, very violently. People who are wicked and disbelieve in Allah and disobey Allah will face pain and torment in every step of their afterlife. And it starts with the extraction of their souls, which will be pulled out violently and causing them a lot of pain. No. When they die here, our souls leave our body on the earth, right? So when somebody dies, whether it be of an illness or an accident or whatever it is, the soul is taken from the body by the angel. So somebody who's a disbeliever and wicked and isn't good in Allah's books, then their soul will be extracted in a way which will be painful for them. وَالنَّاشِطَاتِ نَشْطًا, and the angels who gently take out the souls. That's Islam. Those angels who take out the souls of the believers will do so in a way where it will not cause them any pain. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
You said, look at his watch. He said, you want dates time of day.
It's not an excuse.
He said, you want dates time.
All right, let's get some more chairs and tables. Just get settled in. Abdullah, help out. No, it's too close. Either put the back there or over here. And I'll move back. Yeah. he has transgressed. Go to Pharaoh, verily he has transgressed all bounds. فَقُلْ حَلَّكَ إِلَىٰ أَن تَزَكَّى, and say to Pharaoh, would you like to know a way where you can purify yourself from disbelief? وَأَهْدِيَكَ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ فَتَخْشَى, and that I guide you to your Lord so that you should fear him. So this was how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Moses to speak to Pharaoh, to try to guide him towards a path which would cleanse him. So the lesson we can learn from this is that when we are talking to people about Islam, we do so in a humble way. We do so in a way that guides them to cleansing their souls, that guides them to coming closer to Allah and not pushing them away. Because none of us is better than Moses, and none of the people we're talking to are worse than Pharaoh. Because the crimes of Pharaoh are mentioned in other parts of the Quran, and I mentioned here as well in a few verses. None of the people are worse than that. So we should always speak to people with soft speech, something to attract them to the religion and not put them away. فَأَرَاهُ الْآيَةَ الْكُبْرَى, and then Moses showed him the great signs and miracles, some of which were what? What were some of the miracles that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to Moses to show Pharaoh? Moses used to have a staff. So when he threw the staff, it would turn into a snake. That was one. What else? Those were sent by Allah. Those weren't the miracles of Moses. They were still, yeah, but that's not what he was sent with. He was sent with two things. Not yet. No, not yet. The whiteness of his hand. Right? He would put his hand inside of his arm, and he would show it, and it would be white, and it would be bright without any type of pain or any type of ailment in it. And it would be bright and it would be shining. And these were the two signs that Allah gave him to show to Pharaoh. A lot of the signs that you mentioned come later on in his story, but these were the two signs he was given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show Pharaoh. Very good. So after Pharaoh saw these signs, what did he do? فَكَذَّبَ وَعَصَى. He denied and he disobeyed. ثُمَّ أَدْبَرَ يَسْعَى, and he turned his back and he worked hard against Allah and against Moses. فَحَشَرَ فَنَادَى, and he gathered and he announced. He announced what? That all of his magicians, all the best magicians should come to his court to challenge Moses. فَقَالَ أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى, and he would say that I am your Lord the Most High. He claimed to be the Lord. And he would tell his people that I am the Lord the Most High. فَأَخَذَهُ اللَّهُ نَكَالَ الْآخِرَةِ وَالْأُولَى. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala seized him with great punishment for his last and first transgressions. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala seized him and punished him. إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَعِبْرَةً لِمَنْ يَخْشَى. And verily in this is an admonition for those who fear Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not only punished Pharaoh, but preserved his body so that those who saw him could know what happened. They know that he drowned. They know that the Red Sea was split. They know that he was punished. And because he disobeyed Allah. So he himself was made a sign for the rest of history. So if somebody as powerful as Pharaoh can be punished, then who are you and I? He couldn't avoid the punishment no matter how many armies he had, no matter how big of a land he ruled over. He couldn't avoid Allah's punishment. So what chance do we have? None. So when we hear these verses and these stories, they're not just there for an historical account. The Quran is not a book of history. It is a book of warnings and it's a book of glad tidings. So in this is a warning for the rest of us that set yourself straight with Allah before it's too late. Because even Pharaoh, when he was drowning, he said, I believe now. And the angel said to him, it's too late. Now you see your death in front of you and now you want to believe? No. So we have to set ourselves straight before our time comes. Any questions? We'll stop there. Any questions on Surah Naziat? Ask them now.
Do we have a description of the plane, like, and this is said on earth, but we know that it is possibly not on earth, resurrection?
Comparable to something that's a plane on Earth, right? Just so that we can understand it. It's a plane. It's just an open field, and that's what we know.
What I meant was, is it between earth and heaven, the heavens, or we don't?
Because everything will be destroyed, so there won't be any earth and heavens, right? So it'll just be that plane, and all the souls will be called to that plane. Well, that the souls will be brought back to their bodies, and people will be brought to that plane for their judgment. Any questions? So if there's no questions, that means you knew everything already, and I didn't need to teach this?
But there was like the earthquake, I think like a couple days ago or a week ago, I felt it really bad in my area. So then I went on it when there was people reading that it made me think like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong in all my life? And I felt so bad because I didn't think this was coming.
And that's one of the reasons why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends these earthquakes and these storms to remind us. That was a small one. That was what, 2.8 on the Richter scale? It was, yeah, but it's scary. Anybody who sat through an earthquake and seen things shaking around them, it's pretty scary. Unless you're like me and you just didn't even notice. You just saw people running. It's like, what happened? Some of us are like that. But it is scary because you start thinking that, okay, if this is the end, am I prepared for it? Am I prepared for it? And that's why we need to be prepared at all times, because we don't know when our end is. Any number of things can happen at any time. So we should always be prepared. Any other questions?
What's the, when you talk about the plane, is it spelled Plain or Plane?
Plain, Plain. Plain, like the plains, like fields.
Like field,
Yes.
No, I meant like, cause when you talk about a plane in science, it just means like a flat. Yeah.
What page are we on in the book?
We are on page 244 in this book. If anybody doesn't have a book, there should be some in the red box. Or look on with your neighbor.
Okay.
244. I will end a little bit early today so we can eat chili. There's no books in there? We may be running low. All right, well, you might have to just look on with Brother Ali for now.
Trying to get the system.
Page 244, we're talking about the religion of children. This is, we've pretty much almost finished this book, and this chapter is talking about life after somebody accepts Islam, and it's kind of just summarizing a lot of the other things that we discussed. So 244, who would like to read?
I'll read. Children's religions. Children's religion. According to Islamic teachings, all human beings without exception are born Muslim, with an innate inclination to believe in Allah, and that they may follow another oh, and that they may follow another religion following the manner in which their parents teach them and bring them up. As the Prophet ﷺ said, every child is born with a natural inclination to surrender to Allah, that is, to be a Muslim. But then his parents make him a Jew, a Christian, or a Zoroastrian. Regarding non-Muslim parents, children, we
Right.
consider them non-Muslims in this life. If they die young, Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the best of judges, who does not wrong anyone and who knows their secrets. And yet, what is more hidden will test them on the day of judgment. Those who obey him will be admitted into paradise, while those who disobey him will be consigned to hellfire. When Allah's messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was asked about the fate of the children of the polytheists on the day of judgment, he replied, since Allah created them, he knows what sort of deeds they would have done.
So there's a lot of times there's a question of children, what is the religion of children, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everyone with the natural inclination to obey him, right? As babies, in our hearts, in our purity, we wanted to worship Allah alone. But it is parents and societies and families who led us on paths other than that. Paths of confusion, paths of transgression, paths that made people disbelieve in Allah. But if left upon our natural inclination, we would worship Allah. So this is what is meant by the children being born into Islam, but their parents changing them to whatever religion. So this is where that concept is born. Regarding non-Muslims, the children of parents who are non-Muslims, and let's say they die in a young age. So people ask the question whether they'll go to heaven or hell. Were they Muslims or were they non-Muslims? So these are up to Allah's judgments. It's not for us to think too much about it. It's not for us to pass any judgment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best what that child would have been and how he wants to deal with that. This is his judgments. So it's really not for us to judge anybody's afterlife, or make any type of claims in that nature, because this is not information that we were given. It's better off that we worry about ourselves.
But I've always heard that children were pure up until puberty. They were considered pure and they go back to Allah pure if they die before that time.
Yeah. But again, we can't sit here and say so and so child is going to Jannah and so child is not. This is not, even if somebody died at a young age, we can't say about anybody that certainly this person is going to heaven. And it's not because it doesn't have anything to do with them. It's that we don't have the right to say that. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the judge of all things. Any questions? No? Yes? No? Okay, yes.
So, I think, I'm not sure if I heard it correctly, but you said
Ali,
no to this or yes to this?
close that door. What, to what?
When it comes to a child that passes and they're in the home to live with them, and just for a child that lives in a Muslim home and a child that lives in a non-Muslim home, if they are obedient to their parents and they die before 18, right, where they can make their decision of their religion, right, and they are living at home, they die, they get Jannah. Am I incorrect?
I'll repeat. We can never say that anybody on this earth who dies is going to Jannah unless we are given that information. We think the best for them. We hope the best for them. But it's not my right to say that so and so person, regardless of their age, regardless of who they are, regardless of where they were born, is going to Jannah or is not going to Jannah. This is not a right that we have. It's not something we need to get into. We just have the best hope for it. In general, children are innocent, and in general, we believe they'll go to Jannah. But to apply that to so and so person is not my right to do so. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who allows people to go to Jannah or not. Because we have the story in Surah Kahf of the child that Khidr killed because he was going to lead his parents to transgression. And he was a child. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew that that child was evil.
However, because he died before he committed that evil, chances are he would go to Jannah. He would save from his own nafs. Is that not true? That's the way I think.
I think at the very bottom says, if Allah created the whatsoever He say what He done.
Right. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best who goes to Jannah and who doesn't. We need to get that out of our system of worrying about making a final judgment on somebody, whether somebody will go to heaven or hell. We say in general, yes, children are innocent. In general, yes, we believe they'll go to Jannah. We cannot say about anybody specifically because it's not my right to make that judgment. Yes.
Can a person say, I want to be there on your judgment day?
I can't hear you.
Can someone say, can I want to be there on your judgment day?
Be there
Yeah.
on your judgment day? I don't know of anything like that. Yeah, I don't know of anything like that. We're all going to be there on judgment day. And on that day, nobody will worry about anybody. Nobody's going to worry about anybody else. Right. It's all going to be worrying about your own self. Because we just actually passed that surah last week where, even, the husband won't worry about the wife and they won't worry about the children. Everybody will be worried about their own good deeds. Nobody will care about anybody. Not even that close bond of your children, you'll forget them on the day of judgment because the judgment of yourself is so heavy. All right, let's continue.
Should I read or somebody else?
I would like somebody to read.
Where are we reading?
Second column on page 22, 244.
However, when can we consider non-Muslim parents' children Muslim in this light? To prove this, there are different cases, including the following. 1. If the parents, or one of them, embrace Islam, children born to them will be considered followers of the religion of the parent that is better than the other, namely Islam. 2. If a child who is able to distinguish between right and wrong, but has not necessarily reached the age of puberty, embraces Islam, even though his parents are not Muslim, he will equally be considered Muslim. A Jewish boy used to serve the Prophet ﷺ. One day the boy became ill, and the Prophet ﷺ went to visit him. He sat by his head and said, "Become a Muslim." The boy looked at his father, who was also sitting by his head, His father said to him, "Obey Abdul Qasim." The boy then embraced Islam. The Prophet ﷺ left saying, "Praise be to Allah who has saved him from the fire."
All right, so if a child is born to Muslim parents, then that child is a Muslim. And this becomes important if a child passes, then how is he buried? Where is he buried according to Islamic rites? So in that case, he would be. Or in the other case, a child who is of discerning age accepts his Islam, regardless of his parents are not Muslim or not, um, then he would also be considered a Muslim. Any questions? Okay. We're getting to the end. I'm going to read one or two hadiths so that we can wrap up. We have our hadith book, 30 hadiths. We are on hadith number 19, page 70. وعن أبي ذر رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تحقرن من المعروف شيئا ولو أن تلقى أخاك بوجه طلق. Abu Dharr reported that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Do not consider any act of goodness as being insignificant, even if it is meeting your brother with a smiling face." We should take every opportunity we can to do a good deed. 19. We should take every opportunity we can to do good deeds because we never know which good deed will be the one that ultimately leads to our salvation or which tips the scales in our favor. Also, thinking that some good deed is beneath you or not worthy of your time, that type of arrogance may lead you to leave other deeds that were better than it. So we should never think that any good deed is insignificant. If we're doing a deed for Allah, then nothing is insignificant. Right? We should smile, brother. Not mean mug each other like in Philly. She didn't hear me. She didn't hear me. Hadith number 20. عن معاذ بن جبل أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أخذ بيده وقال يا معاذ والله إني لا أحبك والله إني لا أحبك فقال أوصيك يا معاذ لا تدعنا في دبر كل صلاة تقول اللهم إني على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك وأوصاني بذلك معاذ سنابحية وأوصي به سنابحي أبا عبد الرحمن. Mu'adh ibn Jabal reported that Allah's Messenger took his hand, grabbed his hand, and said, "By Allah, I love you, Al-Mu'adh, ya Mu'adh. And I advise you to never abandon reciting this supplication after every prayer, which is Allahumma inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. Oh Allah, help me in remembering you, in giving you thanks, and worshiping you well." If we have prayed or we have supplicated to Allah, this is His mercy that allowed us to do so. So we should ask Allah for help in remembering Him. And we should ask Allah to help us in giving thanks to Him. And ask Allah for help in worshiping Him. Because without Allah's help, we cannot worship Him correctly. And it is a blessing if we are doing any good deeds for the sake of Allah. Any questions? I will not stand any longer between you and the chili contest. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. we shall